The entire state of New York has officially decided to step into the ring and lock eyes with the final boss of PC gaming. That's right, the New York Attorney General is suing Valve. The house that Gabe Newell built is under legal fire, and the state of New York is trying to shatter the multi-billion-dollar digital economy that has been running rampant for well over a decade. We are talking about loot boxes. We are talking about cases. We are talking about the fact that you can open a digital crate and either pull a literal masterpiece of virtual weaponry worth more than a luxury sports car, or in my usual experience, a battle-scarred P250 sand dune that is worth roughly 3 cents in a firm handshake. So grab a snack, settle in, because this is going to be a deep dive into what might be one of the most consequential legal battles in modern gaming history. Let's set the stage. New York Attorney General Letitia James just dropped a massive lawsuit right on Valve's doorstep. The core of the argument: the state of New York claims that Valve is illegally promoting gambling to children and teenagers through games like Counter-Strike 2, Team Fortress 2, and Dota 2. Shout out to all my Dota 2 fans. The lawsuit is aggressively pointing the finger at the fact that you pay real, hard-earned human currency for a virtual key to open a virtual box to receive a completely randomized digital item. And look, I have to be completely honest here. When you look at it from a purely mechanical standpoint, the Attorney General isn't exactly describing a fantasy world. If you have ever opened a case in Counter-Strike, you know exactly what the lawsuit is talking about. You click unlock and an animated wheel starts spinning. The ticking sound plays, the colors flash across your screen: blues, purples, pinks, reds, and that glorious, elusive yellow gold icon slides right past the center line to give you a worthless blue shotgun skin. It is, by all visual and psychological metrics, a slot machine. The lawsuit specifically calls this out, stating that Valve has intentionally designed this process to mimic casino games to entice players, specifically young ones, to keep spending that great old money. The numbers they are throwing around in this legal document are staggering, but they're also completely accurate. The Attorney General's office cited that some of these virtual items, which have zero in-game tactical advantage and no mechanical functionality whatsoever, sell for thousands, hundreds of thousands, and in one cited instance, over $1 million. They're referencing the legendary case-hardened AK-47 skin with the 4 Titan Hollow stickers that made headlines not too long ago. To a regular person walking down the street in Manhattan, the idea of spending $1 million on a digital paint job for a virtual AK-47 sounds like actual insanity. To a Counter-Strike player, it's just Tuesday. But this is where the lawsuit gets incredibly spicy and where the internet completely lost its collective mind. The Attorney General is leaning incredibly hard on the think of the children narrative. The claim is that Valve is luring teenagers and children into severe gambling addictions. They argue that young users with limited funds are being enticed to gamble in the hopes of winning expensive items to enhance their social status in the virtual world. And New York doesn't just want a slap on the wrist. They aren't asking Valve to put a little warning label on the main menu. The lawsuit is seeking to permanently stop Valve from promoting these features, force them to pay full restitution to consumers, and to slap them with a fine equal to 3 times the amount of their ill-gotten gains. Given that Valve makes an estimated $1 billion a year just from case keys and Counter-Strike alone, the state of New York is essentially asking Gabe Newell to hand over the GDP of a small island nation. Now, if you know anything about the gaming community, you know that gamers do not just sit quietly when a politician takes a swing at their favorite pastime. The reaction to this lawsuit was immediate and it was loud. The Attorney General posted the announcement on Twitter, and within 24 hours, the tweet didn't just get ratioed, it got legally disassembled by the community. This was basically the closest thing to real-life review bombing I have ever seen. And the cherry on top, the official tweet got slapped with a community note. The note simply and effectively pointed out that Counter-Strike 2 is rated M for mature by the ESRB, meaning the game is strictly recommended for players aged 17 and older. So the community's counter argument is essentially, if little Timmy is stealing his mother's credit card to buy 100 Chroma cases on a Tuesday night, maybe that is a parenting issue, not a Valve issue. If an adult game is being played by a 10-year-old, the developer shouldn't be held legally responsible for the 10-year-old acting like a degenerate gambler. And that opens up a massive can of worms about accountability. It's a marketing and business reality that Valve operates the Steam platform with very little age gating beyond a simple drop-down menu asking for your birth year. We all know the classic joke that January 1st, 1900 is the most common birthday on the internet. But from a legal defense standpoint, Valve's lawyers are absolutely going to frame this around personal responsibility and the ESRB rating. But gamers weren't just defending Valve. A huge portion of the commentary was pointing out the absolute blatant hypocrisy of targeting Valve while ignoring the rest of the industry. People are screaming from the digital rooftops, what about EA? Electronic Arts makes billions of dollars every single year off of Ultimate Team packs in Madden and EAFC. That is quite literally paying real money for a randomized pack of virtual football players that become entirely obsolete the second next year's game launches. At least with a Counter-Strike knife, you can sell it on the Steam market for Steam Wallet funds or cash it out on a third-party site. With EA, your money just vanishes into the ether. And what about the mobile gaming market? The entire gacha genre, games like Genshin Impact, are built from the ground up on randomized pools. What about physical trading cards? If I go to the store right now and buy a pack of Pokemon cards or Magic the Gathering cards, I'm paying a set price for a randomized chance at a holographic Charizard that I can sell on eBay for hundreds of dollars. The mechanic is identical. The psychological dopamine hit is identical. The only difference is that one is cardboard and the other is pretty pixels. So why is New York singling out Valve? Many suspect it's because Valve is the biggest, most cash-rich target, and a victory here would set a massive legal precedent for the rest of the industry. Now, I promised you guys some humor, but honestly, the funniest parts of this entire situation is actually written directly into the legal complaint itself. Because halfway through this lawsuit about digital economies and gambling laws, the Attorney General's office goes on the most bizarre, out-of-touch tangent I have seen in a legal document in years. I'm going to paraphrase this, but the lawsuit actually states that while the case is about illegal gambling, it is important to note that Valve's promotion of games that glorify violence and guns helps fuel the dangerous epidemic of gun violence, particularly among young gamers who become numb to grave violence before their brains are fully developed. That same old story. I'm sorry, what year is it? Did I actually accidentally time travel back to the 1990s? Are we seriously doing the Jack Thompson video games cause real world violence argument in the year 2026? It is actually mind-boggling. They were making a somewhat coherent, strictly legal argument about unregulated digital gambling, and then they just swerved the car entirely off a cliff to blame Counter-Strike for society's problems. Feels like a boomer politician panicked, realized they needed more buzzwords, and just threw video games cause violence into the mix like a seasoning. Gamers are absolutely roasting this point online, and rightfully so. It completely undermines the seriousness of the economic argument they are trying to make. It makes the prosecution look like they have never actually picked up a mouse and keyboard in their lives. But let's get back to the business side of this. Economics of the Steam market are fascinating. Valve has created a self-sustaining financial ecosystem that would make Wall Street bankers blush. When you unbox a skin and sell it on the Steam community market, Valve takes a 15% cut of the transaction. They make money selling you the game, they make money selling you the key to open the box, and then they make money taxing you when you sell the item to someone else. It is an infinite money glitch. The lawsuit heavily criticizes Valve for this and also aims at the gray market. For years, massive third-party websites have existed where you can connect your Steam account, deposit your skins, and either use them as chips to play roulette or cash them out for actual cryptocurrency or bank transfers. Valve has historically played a massive game of whack-a-mole with these sites. Sometimes they send cease and desist letters and ban trading bots, and other times they just look the other way. The New York Attorney General argues that Valve secretly loves these third-party sites because the ability to cash out is what gives the virtual items their real-world value, which in turn drives the sales of case keys. It's a symbiotic relationship built on unregulated digital assets. So what happens next? Does this mean the end of Counter-Strike cases? Are we about to see the great skin crash of 2026? Look, if there's one thing you need to know about Valve, it's that they have an army of lawyers that could probably fight God and win a settlement. This isn't the first time they've been sued over gambling. They faced massive class action lawsuits back in 2016 during the peak of the Counter-Strike Go lotto scandal, and they navigated their way out of it. But a lawsuit from the state of New York is a different beast entirely. If New York wins, or if this escalates to a federal level, it could force a fundamental redesign of how monetization works in PC gaming. Valve might be forced to simply sell skins directly at a flat rate, completely abolishing the randomized loot box mechanic in the United States. While some players would love to just pay $20 for the exact skin they want, it would completely obliterate the multi-billion-dollar secondary market. Imagine holding a digital inventory worth $50,000 and overnight a judge rules that the system is illegal, taking the value of your assets to zero. The panic in the trading community is palpable. As someone who covers gaming news, marketing, and the industry at large, I look at this and see a breaking point. The gaming industry has been riding the line of what is and isn't gambling for over a decade. They have hidden behind terms like surprise mechanics and intermittent reinforcement loops. But at the end of the day, when you have a spinning wheel, bright lights, a cash buy-in, and a randomized payout of varying financial value, you are going to attract the attention of the law eventually. Whether you hate loot boxes and want to see them burn, or you are a diehard skin trader hoping Valve's legal team pulls off a miracle, you cannot deny that the landscape is shifting in a big way. The fact that politicians are now quoting the exact prices of case-hardened AK-47s in Supreme Court documents shows that video game economies are no longer flying under the radar. But I want to know what you guys think about this. Is New York entirely justified in classifying this as illegal gambling? Should Valve be forced to shut down cases and pay the massive fines? Or is this massive government overreach targeting a mature-rated game where players should have the personal responsibility to manage their own wallets? And more importantly, do you think EA and mobile games are sweating bullets right now watching this unfold? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'll be reading through all of them. It's going to be a wild legal ride, and you can bet I will be keeping a close eye on it as it develops. If you enjoyed the breakdown, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. This has been Cyler Ray, bringing you the latest in gaming news and commentary. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.